So prototype number 2 is the ReGen-X quantum motor and the ReGen-X generator. And the ReGen-X quantum motor is the world's first and only electric motor that can perform work without externally supplied input energy. The ReGen-X quantum motor doesn't perform work without energy. It performs positive work, system kinetic energy acceleration, with energy that's being created at the subatomic quantum level. And with this particular prototype, we can actually measure, and this graph over here will tell you, or I should say this table over here will tell you exactly how much energy is being created by knowing how much energy is being created by knowing the increase in kinetic energy, by calculating the increase in kinetic energy of the system, and by knowing how much power is being delivered to the battery. Okay? So when the ReGen-X generator is performing work, recharging the battery, the created electromagnetic field energy is also performing positive work, accelerating the system. Okay? When we are operating in pure motor mode, we are performing the maximum amount of positive work, but when we're performing the maximum amount of positive work, we're in pure motor mode, and we're not generating power to the battery. And we can basically switch in between operate pure, like quantum motor mode or ReGen-X generator mode. Alright. So the first thing that I'll do is I'll demonstrate the ReGen-X quantum motor, and if Richard needs to hold the tachometer, you can do that, but you won't need to. So, as I mentioned, we can measure, by measuring the increase in, by measuring the increase in the speed of the system, and by knowing the mass of the rotating body. So what happened with this prototype is all the rotating components were taken out and their mass was weighed in kilograms. Okay? So at a certain RPM, this system, based on the mass of the rotating body and its diameter and so on, you can measure the kinetic energy at any speed. Because once you know the mass and you know the speed, you can measure and calculate the kinetic energy in that system. Okay? So at about 3,400 RPM, where this is going to sit at rotational equilibrium on idle, the kinetic energy of the system is about 3,976 joules. So that's the on-load system speed and the kinetic energy of the system. And when we go into motor mode, that's actually table 2. When we go into motor mode, we're going to increase the kinetic energy of the system. And because we know the mass and we know the increase in speed, we can calculate the kinetic energy increase And once we know what the kinetic energy increase is, we also know how much energy is being created. Because if you increase the kinetic energy from 3914 joules to 4068, then that's an increase of 153 joules, and that equals 153 joules of energy that's being created. Okay?
If I was to measure where would I measure here?
If you were to measure, you would measure here.
Okay.
Do you want to do it?
Sure.
Okay.
How far can I go with this?
Well, come over here. Stand there. So you're going to put this. See that? There's your
Okay,
spot.
I see.
So you're going to make sure that that's hitting there. Don't hit this. Make sure you're hitting that. And you should be close too, okay? But these guys are going to hear,
The sound is going to change.
they're going to hear the speed going up. They don't really need you. But that's fine.
I'm curious.
For now. So if you record mentally or physically record the speed, okay, where we're starting, and then the increase, then you can actually calculate exactly how much energy is being created
In joules.
okay, in joules by the kinetic energy increase, which is also in joules. Okay, energy is energy, whether it's kinetic or created energy. So with this one, our target speed is about 3914 roughly, and it's going to go up from there. It's going to go up to 4068. That's an increase of 150. That's an increase to 3483 RPM. That's 153 joules of kinetic energy increase. Okay. Now, when this system is rotating at 3,351 RPM, ask yourself the question, can I make that system go faster without putting energy in, without cranking it?
Yeah.
It's just not possible, okay? So your job also is to monitor, this is the power that's going to the prime mover. Okay? Your job is to monitor to make sure we don't have any gerbils or any kind of funky thing going on here.
Where will it show?
You'll see it here. You'll see
Okay,
it.
oh, in what?
Yeah.
Okay.
So your job is to make sure for these guys that want to remain anonymous, save their jobs. You want to make sure that I'm not putting in extra energy into the coils, okay? And again, this is the output. So the outputs are just going to switches. There's nothing else going on. Okay, let's fire it.
Just, sorry, this is your ReGen-X that is like here? This is the same coil here?
It's an advanced version of what we have.
Oh, okay. And these are your quantum...
No. These are all, so okay, good question. There's 4 coils, 4 switches. When the switch is on this side, when the switches are on this side, the coil is operating in motor mode, okay, quantum motor mode. It's accelerating the system, but the coils are not receiving power. When the switch is on the other side, it's in generator mode. It's recharging the battery, and you'll see that here and here, okay? You'll see the amount of current that we're delivering to the battery.
Right.
And you'll see the battery voltage going up. So the coils will be performing 2 types of work. They'll be recharging the battery in generator mode. They'll be recharging the battery, okay, that's work. And they'll be performing electromechanical work, accelerating the kinetic energy of the system, okay? That's the generator.
So you'll have 153 joules split across a little bit in here and a little bit in the battery.
Well, no.
Okay.
In pure motor mode, we're creating about 153 joules of energy, okay? Because we're increasing the kinetic energy of the system by 153 joules, okay? In generator mode, and it's very interesting because the numbers are very, very close. They're probably identical, but in generator mode, we're generating 70 watts to the battery, okay? But our increase in speed is going to be less. We're generating, 90 watts to the battery, and our kinetic energy increase is 70 watts. So that's 160.2. So those two numbers are virtually the same, okay? So it's kind of agreeing with your question. If you recharge the battery, then you get less acceleration, but you're doing the same amount of work in either case, okay?
Makes sense.
So, and this is loud, sorry, but it's loud. work energy principle states that in order to perform work, energy is required. So in the ReGen-X generator, we're performing work, recharging the battery, and we're also performing work, increasing the kinetic energy of the system. In the ReGen-X motor, we are not charging the battery, and we are performing the maximum amount of work, increasing the kinetic energy of the system to its maximum level. So this innovation can go into an electric vehicle. And what this means, what we can see here, is that, so you want to